sex is not a protected class. Like, no, and it should be.
And saying that we're covered under equal protection under the law. No. Not in the doctor's office, we're not. We're not. So fuck off with that argument too.
You're listening to Hysteria, the podcast that will not be fooled by Ben Shapiro's expert wicked take, when we know he's just trying to cover up for the CEO bootlicking he did. That almost got his audience to turn on him. That did get his audience to turn on him. But, that being said, credit where it's due, Ben Shapiro did queen out a little bit when it came to his take on Wicked.
Good for him.
It's like the only thing that he's ever done that I've watched all the way through and been like, he made some good points. I don't want to punch him right now.
I mean, a broken clock, right?
I mean, should he quit what he's doing and become a theater critic or like a critic of...
No, we can't have that because this one good take does not a critic make.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. All right, we've got some late breaking headlines as we're about to record. Merry Christmas, Alyssa. Congress has decided to release the Matt Gaetz ethics report after all.
Love it.
Is it a Merry Christmas or is it a scary Christmas?
It's going to be a scary Christmas, but like American taxpayers paid for this report. People deserve to see it.
100%. Sort of like if you hire like contractors to redo your floors and they mess it up, you still should get to see
right. Just because they left before they finished the job doesn't mean they still don't get the bad Yelp review.
Yes, 100%. This is going to be, I hope, an epic Yelp review. And I frankly envy the congressional staffers responsible for composing it because I bet there are going to be some pretty fun one-liners.
I feel like this could be quite colorful.
All right. So Gaetz himself has released a Xweet. I don't know. Is that what we're calling X tweets? I'm not on that website. This is joking.
Me neither. I'm not. I only go on it when I specifically need to look for something, but I have not. Maybe once a month I go on it.
I log on once every 30 days so they don't seize my account and start like besmirching me. But I don't use it anymore. But anyway, Gaetz wrote on that website, the Biden-Garland DOJ spent years reviewing allegations that I committed various crimes. To say the least, Matt. I was charged with nothing, fully exonerated, not even a campaign finance violation, and the people investigating me hated me. Well, to be fair, Matt, everybody hates you. Then the very witnesses DOJ deemed not credible were assembled by House Ethics to repeat their claims. Absent any cross-examination or challenge from me or my attorneys, I've had no chance to ever confront any accusers. I've never been charged. I've never been sued. Instead, House Ethics will reportedly post a report online that I have no opportunity to debate or rebut. As a former member of the body. In my single days, I often sent funds to women I dated, even some I never dated but who asked. Okay, you cuck. I dated several of these women for years. I never had sexual contact with somebody under 18. Any claim that I have would be destroyed in court, which is why no such claim was ever made in court. My 30s were an era of working very hard and playing hard too. It's embarrassing, though not criminal, that I probably partied, womanized, drank, and smoked more than I should have earlier in life. I live a different life now. But at least I didn't vote for CRs that fuck over the country. Alyssa, reactions?
Okay, first of all, my 30s were an era of working hard and playing too hard. That's what your 20s are for. You just have to listen to Carrie Bradshaw. 20s are for making the mistakes. 30s are for learning the lessons. No lessons were learned. Also, can I just say something? I don't give a shit if he ever did anything criminal. Bad judgment is also a reason to not be in Congress.
100%. That's literally your whole job. Taking in information, making a judgment about whether or not it's good for America, and moving forward with that information. If you have bad judgment, you lack the qualifications to be a member of the legislative body.
Also, one just sentence that needs flagging. I often sent funds to women I dated, even some I never dated but who asked. Why?
Have you ever just asked a random guy you didn't date for money?
No.
Is he into Findom?
What is that? Oh, Fin. Okay, I put the words together. I get what it means. I get what it means.
Dumb. It sounds like it should be really gross.
It was an episode of SVU.
Yeah, he could be like. That's very weird. Here's the thing: saying the sentence like, "Man, my 30s were all about partying and exploring." That's how you know you've got a rich dad. The richer your dad, the later the decade that you just get to fuck around.
I completely agree.
And that's why they call him Baby Gaetz.
Baby Gaetz. Also because he needs to be kept in.
Yeah, exactly. Don't let him near stairs. He is, or into the kitchen.
He might try to randomly pay them, even though they never asked for money.
Yeah, I just randomly pay. What if like a member? Like that's so funny. Also, because like he's exactly, Alyssa, the sort of person who would be completely malleable by plots that are explained to all levels of White House employee.
100%.
Like if you're on a foreign trip and somebody who is too sexy for you starts trying to flirt with you, that's a spy. Like, don't
It's a spy. That's a Russian lady. That is a Russian lady.
Like,
Matt. God damn it, Matt.
I mean, I don't know. They were just nice ladies. The stripper really liked me. Like, it's just, what a dummy. You know what? That total dummy.
Also, here's the thing. The opus that he wrote in that tweet does lead you to believe he's got a sense of what's in that report, and it ain't great.
Yeah, it is. I am going to read it. I don't know if I'm going to feel good about myself after.
Well, we can read it. Here's the thing. I would never read something he wrote. I will read what the ethics committee wrote.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's going to be a Merry Christmas to all, and to all a bad night. Another late breaking headline on Wednesday. The Supreme Court is going to take on TikTok. A group of people of whom I would guess 7 get their emails printed out for them before they read them is going to be deciding the future of the most cutting edge social media company preferred by people under 25. I'm sure that's going to end up great. That seems like a good match.
Can
right?
I tell you something? I actually think it will.
You think it'll turn out great?
I do. Well, if people want to keep TikTok, I do think this is like because look, like 6 months ago, Erin, Trump was very mad at TikTok. He said it was going to cost him his election. And then he won. And now he's like, I don't have such issue with TikTok anymore. And so suddenly it feels like a lot less far fewer national security implications that he's talking about. I don't know. I just feel like as goes Trump, so goes SCOTUS. And I feel more optimistic for TikTok today than I did 6 months ago.
I got to say, I think that the treatment of TikTok as Chinese spyware is probably apt, but I think every social media platform is spyware. So, like, why is it okay for Mark Zuckerberg to spy on me and not a company affiliate?
He's also spying on us right, exactly. He's spying us on Instagram. It's like talking to you over text about our cats and then getting 75 ads for cardboard cat houses is not a coincidence.
You know what happened to me yesterday?
What?
So I got home from something called the Holiday Train in a park here in Los Angeles.
That sounds amazing.
With my kids, and my daughter wanted me to read, or my older daughter wanted me to read How the Grinch Stole Christmas to her, the book. And the only version of the book that we have is in Spanish. And I do not speak that great of Spanish. So I'm like I'm stumbling through Como el Grinch robó la Navidad. I'm trying to read it. And she just got bored with me after like 10 minutes. This morning on Instagram, I got an ad that was like, do you want to get better at Spanish?
Shut up.
Yeah.
See, it's bullshit. Like,
yeah. Anyway, I actually think this is going to be one of those cases where it's like, heartbreaking worst person made a good point. Like when Brett Kavanaugh talks about younger people things like the NCAA and TikTok, I feel like Brett Kavanaugh is not going to be an idiot on this, and it's always like a little bit heartbreaking when I'm like, God, that fucker's right again. But yeah, I want to keep it. Also, don't discount the fact that Mark Zuckerberg is currently cozying up to Donald Trump. And
Erin,
Mark Zuckerberg would love for TikTok to be banned. And so maybe this is a way for Donald Trump to get Mark Zuckerberg to cozy up even harder to him.
Nah, let me tell you something. Zuckerberg wrote a mill to the inaugural committee, which I would just like to say is like kind of a bit of a slush fund. So, of course, that's where Trump wanted all the money donated. It's going to take more than a mill to get Donald Trump. He is so relishing the genuflection that is happening down at Mar-a-Lago that he is not gonna I think the only thing that would work is if Mark Zuckerberg were just trying to cozy up to him so he could try to buy TikTok.
Do we think that Donald Trump is somebody who can be just so to speak, killed with kindness.
Yeah,
like
100%.
Like, and so that I've been thinking about all the people that are kind of like sucking up to him right now. And I'm like, actually, wouldn't that be a better strategy for dealing with a petty, vindictive, simple-minded?
Erin, I feel so passionately about this because Trump, all he wants, here's the interesting thing, my opinion. Trump cares very little about the people who actually support him, right? He wants the people who don't like him to like him, and he wants to win them over, and he wants to prove that he can do it. And so, like, even before the Bezos meeting, which I think is maybe today, Donald Trump in public comments has been like, last time everyone was so tough on me and now everybody wants to be my friend. And he loves it. It's like the lore of New York City. Like all he ever wanted to be, like he wasn't a Republican. He wanted to be beloved by Democrats. He wanted to be invited to their Christmas parties and stuff. Like Hillary and Bill were at his wedding. And now he's just sad that those people, he fundamentally wants to be in a cooler crowd.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really true. And the fact that he thinks that, that he thinks that the strippers like him is kind of a interesting strategy. So I honestly, I know there's a lot of people that are like, I can't believe that they're bending the knee to him. I can't believe that they're, but I am going to just like take a beat and see how this lands.
I have the one person I take real exception to is Jeff Bezos because he specifically said in his statement about going down there that he was going as Amazon. No, bitch. You own the Washington Post too, that decided not to endorse this time after how many years? And like, you can't have it both ways. And so I just think that like people can do as they please, but like, just don't be a hypocrite.
Mm-hmm. And think about how, first of all, Jeff Bezos, shout out to this fucking guy of the month, which you can watch on YouTube. We give him a thorough.
It was a journey.
Down. It was a journey through the dark recesses of Jeff Bezos' $500 million yacht that had to be disassembled so that it didn't have to...
We took him from mock turtleneck to billion-dollar yacht.
Yes, we sure did. Yeah, I mean, Jeff Bezos probably stands to lose more in terms of billions because he has more than most people by like Trump's tariffs. They would really harm him. And harm him in the sense that his number go down versus number go up. I don't think he's ever going to be like destitute in his life, but so he probably needs to suck up to Donald Trump even harder. And so, the enemy of my enemy is my friend sometimes. I don't know. I'm team nobody, but like, I kind of like Jeff Bezos being a little scared.
They're all scared. Look, I mean, this is kind of the funny thing about watching all these people go down to Mar-a-Lago. The only people going down to Mar-a-Lago are the people who are scared. So it is like a gravy train of scared all the way down to South Florida, right?
Yeah. But also one thing that I'll say about the library of Trump-related books that were released in the back half of the first administration and then in the years after, I think that basically we have mapped the DNA of how Donald Trump makes decisions. He listens to the last person who talked to him. He responds to people who he thinks are nice to him. He's petty and mean. And so I think that people are like, oh, all I have to be is the last person to talk to him. And in order to be somebody who he talks to, I have to like glaze him. And maybe that's going to be a better way of dealing with him than #resist. Maybe convincing him that what he wants to do is actually what the rest of us want.
Right.
Is the way to get him to actually do it. Like he is a tool for the evangelicals, or he was during his first term. Like maybe there's a way for us to like glaze him enough that he gives us paid family leave this time.
Look, I think it's actually all entirely possible because here the first time, and look, his campaign, all things point to the fact that he is still stuck on grievance, like gathering support via grievance, right? But at the same time, he knows he's old. He can't run again, right?
Well, he thinks he can't. Or
we know he shouldn't and can't. He may, right. But right. there is something, Erin, that I just really deeply agree with. Like, I do think that in the world, if we boiled it down to something as simple as, has the man or has the world perhaps understood now that you catch more flies with honey than with vinegar? Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's like he may be just a giant Pooh Bear down there, but like...
Yeah, I don't know. A Pooh Bear on Ozempic, very obviously.
A Pooh Bear with a lot of weird room in his collar.
Yeah, hitting the Zempic. That being said, if we are trying to catch flies with honey, the honey should be born by white men because
yikes.
Donald Trump ran a racist and sexist campaign. He won probably due in part to racism and sexism, given the fact that, A, it's kind of obvious. B, misogynist social media posts went up like 600% the day after the election. And C, House Republicans announced their committee leaders for the 119th Congress this past week, and there are no women.
No women. No,
not a one.
Women. Well, they've shot Elise Stefanik over to the UN, right? But not only are there no women, Erin, the Republican House members voted to go after the former highest-ranking Republican woman, Liz Cheney. For her participation in the January 6th committee. So not only are they not letting women in the committees, they have gotten rid of and or are going after the highest ranking women who were part of the leadership in the House.
Mm-hmm. And 15 of the 16 are white men. There is one guy whose maternal grandparents came from Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
His 23andMe is going to be a little bit more interesting. It's going to span other continents besides Europe. This is something that we've kind of been harping on, and I love to harp. It's the holiday season.
It's harp. It's our prerogative.
It's harp season. If I am a harp player, now is the time. The people who vote there are enough people who voted for Trump that voted for him because they are uncomfortable seeing people who are not white men cosplaying this patriarchal notion of the boss being in charge. And that's what we're seeing play out in Congress. So this is, they can be a little annoying, but this is why we need to make sure that the men are well fed and well hydrated going into the next 4 years, the good men going into the next 4 years, because we need them to be the ones to talk to the men who won't talk to women or won't listen to women. Because that's just, that's the country we're living in right now. Alyssa, how do you think this relates to the anti-DEI movement?
I mean, it just kind of proves the point, I guess,
that
inclusion is not their fucking bag and they're not picking it up. They don't think that, I guess there are no senior members of color who deserve committee chairing committee assignments. There were actually quite a few women who would have been, I think, very acceptable to lead some of these committees. But they're like, no, look, Erin, they made us promises. They showed us who they were, and they're holding true to that. White men forever.
Yeah. Speaker Mike Johnson, who every time I see a quote from him, I am like, talk about queening out. I'm like, that is a fabulous man. Mike Johnson said that Republicans have an embarrassment of riches in choosing members to lead committees. And so, wow.
Guess they put the riches in the closet, huh?
Yeah, I guess so. They buried the riches under the mattress. I think that it's really telling that at the core of the modern GOP belief is this notion that if something is a pure meritocracy, then the people that will emerge at the top are white men, and white men who get there completely on their own. Nobody helped them. Nobody supported them. No system oppressed those that might compete with them. No, every achievement of a white guy is completely because of their own individuality and inherent superiority. Let's talk about the ERA, Alyssa. What's the latest on that?
Let's talk about the ERA, Erin. So just a little primer. ERA was first introduced to Congress in 1923. Section 1 of the ERA stated, equality of rights under the law shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on the account of sex. Erin, doesn't that sound so non-controversial to you?
Yes, it does.
Right? Strangely.
Well, except for the S word, which is not a word. Yeah, okay.
Shockingly, highly controversial, gets a lot of people up in arms. But friend of Hysteria, Kirsten Gillibrand, senator from New York, has been leading the charge to persuade President Biden to add this amendment to the Constitution, which she claims he could do with a single phone call. Erin?
Hello, Constitution?
Could it be that easy? Could it be that easy?
I don't
making it the 28th Amendment. So, a little backstory. In 1972, both the Senate and the House approved the amendment, and the next step was getting ratified by 38 states. Within a year, it was ratified by 30 states. But here's where things get complicated. Congress set an arbitrary 5-year deadline to achieve this number, but by 1977, only 35 states signed on. The amendment got a 3-year extension, but rather than accruing more states, lawmakers in Nebraska, Tennessee, Idaho, Kentucky, and South Dakota voted to rescind their earlier support. When the amendment failed to gain support after the extension, most considered it a lost cause, and it was for 40 years, until 2017, when Nevada became the first state to ratify the measure since 1977. Illinois and New York could not believe New York it took this long, followed suit in 2020, which is when the amendment finally technically gained the 38 states that needed to be added to the Constitution. That is, if you ignore the ratification deadline and the states that rescinded their support, which is exactly what Senator Gillibrand is arguing. She believes that the ratification deadline is irrelevant and unconstitutional. Therefore, all President Biden would have to do is direct the National Archivist, largely a ministerial role, to publish the ERA as the 28th Amendment.
Just fucking do it, Joe.
Just fucking do it.
Just do it. Let the courts figure out how to deal with it.
100%. Like, there's no way. Of course, this would totally lead to intervention by the Supreme Court. I am all for it. Erin, when Democrats, specifically President Biden, all summer before he stepped down and Kamala Harris became our nominee, they kept talking about codifying Roe. Erin, this is as close as you get. This is as close as you could possibly get to codifying Roe. And look, do I have faith in SCOTUS? No, I don't. I don't. However, I would say that even in states, which we have talked about, like Florida, for example, where abortion was on the ballot, and abortion outperformed Donald Trump in Florida by like a percentage point.
Yeah, I too prefer abortion to Donald Trump. But.
Same, but everyone sort of underestimates if abortion, which is whether it has been on ballots to be ratified, to be protected as part of fundamental reproductive freedom across the country, it wins and it wins and it wins. Imagine if you took something less controversial and were just like, you know what? 50% of the population, people. Yeah. Imagine, I have a hard time thinking this wouldn't have like a lot of support. And as it is, when polled, about 61% of likely voters, including 87% of Democrats, say they support Mr. Biden taking action to adopt the Equal Rights Amendment.
Just fucking do it, Joe.
Just do it.
Do it. Do the thing like in a scene in a movie when someone gets mad and rage quits during a meeting and then like leaves the boardroom doing the double middle finger.
Yes.
Like, yeah. Fucking.
And
guys,
you know what? I am glad that Senator Gillibrand is kind of burning the house down right now about this. Mm-hmm. Like, she's reporting her interactions with members of the Biden administration. She is detailing every step she is taking to try to get this done. Because just do it.
They would. They would.
This is the thing. This is such a actually fundamentally non-controversial issue that's going to hurt nobody. And Republicans would do this in a fucking heartbeat.
In an absolute heartbeat. Even if the battle ends up being lost, I would say that dragging this into the public and making the conversation take a long time would remind people that like the word woman doesn't appear in the U.S. Constitution.
Right.
Like sex is not a protected class. Like. No, and it should be.
And saying that we're covered under equal protection under the law, no. Not in the doctor's office, we're not. We're not. So fuck off with that argument too.
No. I do think, though, that the more I think about the 2024 election, which I can't wait to stop thinking about, although I think I'm probably going to be thinking about it for the rest of my life, the more I think about it, the more I feel like a lot of the abortion referendums on the Constitution or on state ballots, a lot of people went in being like, ooh, I can vote to have my cake and eat it too? Cool. Trump for the White House, and I'm going to like lock in
abortion.
Abortion, which isn't a thing. which isn't a thing. You got a federal government that is controlled by Republicans. You are not protected. You are at the mercy of whatever the federal government decides to do.
Right.
But whatever. I'm not a civics teacher. Most people probably didn't pay attention in that class, as we can see.